All right, so this is test prep for your review test. And like I told you in class, this is going to be over lessons 1 and 2 in your Spanish 2 textbook. And it covers all kinds of material that I expect that you would have learned backwards and forwards in Spanish 1 or any other like high school level Spanish class that you have taken before. So it's 42 questions total. And the first section is 1 through 15. Questions 1 through 15. So it's 1 through 15. And it is conjugating verbs. And I think we talked about this in class, but conjugating a verb means that you change the verb based on the subject. So the directions are conjugate the following regular verbs. That means there's nothing irregular in here. So like estar or ser or tener, no stem changing verbs. So they're all regular. So conjugate the following regular verbs based on the subject pronoun in parentheses. So in class I gave you a chart that had the subject pronouns. That was yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. And so you're going to have all 3 types of infinitives. That means verbs that end in AR, ER, and IR are going to be on the test. So just as a review, I think they have all this in your book, but just as a review, AR verbs so their endings, if the subject is yo, the ending is o. If it's tú, the ending is as. If the ending is, or if the subject is él, ella, usted, the ending is a. If your subject is nosotros, it is amos. And then if your subject is ellos, ellas, or ustedes, our ending is an. So this is why I love this chart, is because we can easily put all the endings in the chart, and then it's really easy to remember it and kind of see it. Infinitives that end in ER or IR are almost the same. It's O, S, E, emos, or emos, and then N. So ER and IR are all the same except for the nosotros. Sorry, there's some glare. Except for the nosotros. With ER verbs, it's emos, and IR verbs, it's emos, obviously. So the E's go with the E and the I's go with the I. So you should already know this, but if I had a verb, your test is going to look like, I'm going to say number 1, and then there's going to be a blank, and then I'm going to have a subject pronoun, and then I'm going to have a verb. Mirar. So it'll be an infinitive. And then if we had like nosotros, and let's say comer, and vivir. Okay, so it'll look something like this. So to conjugate verbs, we take off the infinitive ending and then add whatever ending was in the box that the subject corresponds to. So the yo ending for AR verbs was O. So we take this off and then we add an O and it becomes miro. Okay, same thing here. The ending for an ER verb for nosotros was hemos. So we take off the ER and it becomes comemos. Same thing here for IR. We take off the ending. We find the ending that goes with L, which is an E or an E. Vive. Okay, so that's what this section of the test is going to look like. It's all regular verbs. It's going to have a subject pronoun, a regular verb, and then you just have to conjugate it. Okay. Part 2 is 16 through 20. Okay, so there's 5 of those. This is definite articles and adjectives. Okay, definite articles and adjectives. So, an article in English is a, an, or the. In Spanish, we have the definite and indefinite. Definite, I always try to teach my students that definite is the. Okay. I'm definitely talking about this marker. Like I want the specific one. So I'm definitely talking about the marker. Definitely talking about the eraser. Okay, so a specific one. In Spanish, we have el, la, los, and las. So these two are masculine. These two are feminine. These two are singular, and those two are plural. Okay. So if my noun is singular and masculine, I use this. If it's feminine and plural, I use this, and kind of around in the chart. Okay. Adjectives. I find that sometimes students have trouble with adjectives because if you have nouns and adjectives, the adjective has to match the noun in gender and number. Okay. So that's where students tend to get a little confused as they forget how to make the adjectives match in gender and number. So we have 3 different types of adjectives. We have adjectives that end in O, adjectives that end in E, and adjectives that end in consonants. Consonant. You're going to find out that I'm not very good at spelling, but we make it work. If we have adjectives that end in O and A, if they end in O, they have to match in gender and number. Okay, gender and number. And with E and consonant ending adjectives, really all we're worried about is number. Okay. Just because these are considered gender neutral, and so they can go with either masculine or feminine nouns, and it really doesn't, like you don't have to change it for gender. So if I had the adjective rojo, and my noun was bolsa, I would have to change this O to match this feminine noun. I'd have to change this to an A. Roja. So I'd have bolsa roja. Okay, because descriptive adjectives always go after the nouns. If this were plural, if bolsas was plural, I'd have to say rojas. Okay. So a quick little chart is ends in an O. We've got O, os, and as. So these are adjectives that end in O's. This is masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So if my noun is singular, masculine, plural. If it's masculine, feminine. If it's plural, I've got my masculine and feminine. Okay. For E's, if the adjective ends in E, like inteligente, I really only have 2 options. So if it's masculine or feminine, it's going to stay in E. The only thing I have to worry about is if it's plural, in which case I just add an S and it just becomes ES. Okay? If I have a consonant like difícil, so these are my masculine, this is my feminine. So this is going to stay a consonant. This is going to stay a consonant. Okay? So the only thing is, if it's plural, we add an ES. That's it. So if I had difícil, yeah. This, if it's plural, becomes difíciles. Looks like a weird letter. Difíciles. So I added an ES to the L. Okay. The biggest mistake I see here is that if you have a feminine noun right here with consonants or with adjectives in an E, students always want to change this one to an A, but don't do it. Okay, don't be that student. Okay, it just stays ES, ES. This is the only one that changes for gender. Okay, so this section in your test is going to look like, I'm going to give you a noun. So let's do and I'm going to give you an adjective. Okay, so I'm going to give you the adjective in the masculine singular form, and you have to decide how to change it for the noun. Since we're doing definite articles with this as well, the directions say write the correct form of the definite article and adjective to match the noun. So the definite article that's going to go with banana is la, because it's feminine and singular, so we've got la. So, we say la, banana, and then, we have to make this feminine because it ends in an O, so we care about gender with this one. We say Maria. Okay. If I had something like señores, okay. Intelligent men or sirs. So our definite article that's going to go with señor, so this is a masculine noun. It's masculine and plural, so this becomes los señores. And then gender doesn't matter. All we have to do is worry about if this is plural or singular. It is singular, so we just add an S. So it becomes inteligentes. Okay. Part 3 is 21 to 25. It is indefinite articles. And adjectives. ADJ. So it's the same kind of thing, only instead of definite articles, we're using indefinite articles. This is going to be a or an. Because with definite articles, it was like, I definitely want this pen. With an indefinite article, I just say, I need a pen. I don't care which one. It's indefinite. Okay? So I might say... Okay, so the indefinite articles are un, una, unos, and unas. I might have something like, how about, yeah, unless. Okay. All right, so we've got faldas, which is feminine and plural. So we have to use unas. So we say unas, faldas. And then this adjective ends in an E. So all we care about is plural or singular. This is plural, so we add an S. So make this plural. That has an N. Interesantes. Okay. I really hope that this is not new information for you. This should just be review, but I do want to give you a lot of details since it is the first test, and since we're coming back, y'all are coming back from summer, and you slept probably in the summer, and maybe you went to the beach, and all of your information fell out on into the sand or into the water, or maybe in the pool or whatever. But anyway, so that's how you're going to do parts 2 and 3. So definite articles, indefinite articles, and adjectives. Part 4 is fill in the blank with the correct conjugation of ser or estar as the sentence requires. So we have ser versus estar. This is going to be 26 to 32. Okay. Ser versus estar. Okay. Both of these verbs mean to be, right? To be. But we cannot just use them however we want to. There are specific circumstances in which we use each one. So I normally tell my students, we've got location and we've got condition. Okay. Location and condition. We use estar for location and condition. Ser has about like 7 to 9 different circumstances that we use it for, depending on who you ask or what textbook you look in. So that's a lot to remember. So I just say memorize that estar is with location and condition, and then remember that ser is everything else. So it's way easier to remember these two than have to remember all 7 to 9 of these. Okay, it's like profession, relationship, time, what something's made of, where somebody's from, nationality, relationship, like a description or identification. So yeah, location and condition. This is one of a key word for condition is like como está or como estás. This is like if I asked you como estás, you would say bien, estoy bien, or estoy cansado, or estoy triste. So these are all kind of emotions that are temporary. So like you might be tired right now, but you will like you'll sleep for 12 hours and then you'll feel better. You won't be tired anymore. Or you're sad because if any of you guys are or girls are football fans, and football season is about to start, and then on Monday you'll be sad if the Cowboys lose. But then they'll win the next week, and then you'll be happy again. So these are temporary conditions, okay? Location, a key word that we look for is en. En. If you have blank and then en, this means in or at, so that's a location. So that's a really big tip-off. If you have a blank and then day, that's probably made of or they're from or a relationship, mother of John or something like that. So those are some key things that you can look for. So you're going to have a blank. It's going to say something like blank. Well, actually, something like nosotros blank en casa. So we are at home. Okay. So here's your key word. You've got en. So it's got to be estar because we're talking about we are at home. So that's a location. So then we have to come in and say estamos. Oh, real quick, let's verb chart ser y estar. So for ser, we've got yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, usted es, nosotros somos, ellos, ellas, ustedes son. Okay. Then we've got for estar, we have estoy, estás, está, estamos, and están. Whoops. Están. Okay. So we're using estar. My subject is nosotros, so we use estamos. Okay. If I had something like ella blank la amiga de Raúl. So she is the friend of Raúl. So is that a location? We sure hope it's not a condition, right? Because we hope that our friends last. So it's not a condition because I would never say, how are you? And she would say, oh, I'm Raúl's friend. Okay, so this has got to be ser. And it is ser because ser we use with relationships. So she is the friend of Raúl, so that's a relationship. So we say ella, and then we use es. Okay, so it's going to be that kind of thing. Yeah. Things that you might come across would be, like I said, I'm sad, so it would be estoy triste. I'm not doing well or I'm doing poorly would be estoy mal. I am healthy, which would be estoy sano or sana, depending on if you're a boy or a girl. If you're sick, you're estoy enfermo or enferma. Tired would be cansado or cansada. So, or if you're doing well, you'd say estoy bien. I may have already said that one. But yeah, so those are some things that you might see in condition. And then, like I said, for location, if you've got N, then it's probably a location. All right, so then the last section is section 5, and that is the remaining questions, so 32 through 42. All right, so section 5 is 33 through 42. I think I said 32, but it's not. These are translations. Okay? They are English to Spanish, right? These are going to cover question words. So there's question words in your textbook. They're called interrogative words, and those are words like donde, which means where, como, which means how, quién, which is who, qué, which is what, por qué, which is why, cuál, I think, is on the list, which is which. So you want to be sure that you know the definitions of the question words in your lesson 1. I think it's lesson 2. You also want to know there's going to be ser and estar. There's going to be regular verbs, so regular ER, AR, ER, IR verbs. Yeah, okay. So, there's a section in your textbook that's the difference between ser or es, está, and I, H-A-Y. H-A-Y, students can get I and está confused because depending on how you're looking at the situation, sometimes you feel like it could be either thing. But I means there is or there are. Okay? This means is or, is or are. So this word right here totally changes the meaning. So I is there is or there are. This is like a general statement. So like if I said there's food in the kitchen, so there is food in the kitchen, I'm just telling you that there is the presence of food in the kitchen. But if I said there is the food, I'm actually talking about like, okay, there it is, like a specific location, like, oh yeah, it's out on the counter, or oh, I've opened the refrigerator door and it's right there. So this is like a general thing, and this is more specific. So if you see, if you see, hint, hint, if you see there is or there are, it's going to be I, okay, on your test. What else? you might see something like the car is blue. Okay, so we have to work on this. We have to figure this out. I would do it step by step. You'd say car is carro. This has to match the car, so we say el. Hey. Carro, and then is, we have to decide if we're going to use es or ser or estar. But is this a location or a condition? No, it is an anything else. So we say es, and then the word for blue is azul. Now, do we need to change this adjective to match this noun? So this is masculine and singular. Since it ends in a consonant, this is gender neutral, so all we have to worry about is if it's plural or singular. This is singular, so we just leave this. So this is our answer. El carro es azul. Okay. We are from Santa Fe. Okay. We are. Is this a location or condition? You might be tempted to say that it is a location, but it is not telling you where someone is currently. If you're telling where somebody is from, which is an origin, and that means that we have to use ser again. So we have nosotros somos de Santa Fe. Okay, they is that key word I told you, or ser, it means from. But if we have they, then it probably is going to be ser. If we were going to have a question word, I could say, why do they read? Can I help you? All right, so the word, if you look up in your book, the word for why is porque. It's actually two words. Porque. Then we say they read. In a question, we always put, not always, it's best to put the verb before the subject. But if you flipped them around, if you put the subject first, I wouldn't count that wrong. The verb for to read is leer. I know, I'm almost done. Leer. And we want to conjugate this for they. So my ER ending for they is going to be EN, leyen. So we'd say porque leyen ellos. Why do they read? Now, this word right here and this word right here are included in this verb. One thing that I see students do a lot is they try to, like the verb hacer means to make or do, and that's actually like making a cake, doing my homework. That's when the verb is actually doing or making. But this is just a helping verb or an emphasis word in English. And so in this case, since it's not asking why are they doing, it is why do they read. This word is included in this word. Okay, so this helping verb is with the actual action verb. Okay, so I think that's probably good for that. I do want to give you some key words that you need to know how to say. You're going to want to say pen, table, to drink, water, class, now, study. You want to say why, to study, to write, to learn, to speak, house, oops, and red. Okay, so those are the major words that you're going to need to know in this section. So obviously this is the English. You're going to have to look them up in Spanish. And like I said, you should know all of these, but I just want to give you a heads up that these are going to be the ones I expect you to know on the test. The last thing, I do want to do one more example. I just realized it. Okay. If I said I or you formal need to study. Okay. Now remember we said that there were two different forms of you. There's informal and formal. Formal is usted. Informal is tú. So we've got, this is formal, so we want to say usted need. We say necesita. Okay. Because the verb is necesitar. And to conjugate it for usted, we take off the AR and then put our new ending, which is A. Now, this right here is what we call an infinitive. To plus verb. All right? So this right here, we want an infinitive. So this first verb is conjugated because it's you need. So we're talking about we're kind of referring back to this. You need, and then we want an infinitive, to study. So that means that we leave it as estudiar. So my verb for to study is estudiar. We want it to stay estudiar because this literally means to study. I see some students get confused with this and they try to conjugate both verbs. So they would say usted necesita estudiar, but what that would mean is you need, you study. Okay, and we don't want to say that. We want to say to study. And because of this little thing right here on the end, that's our infinitive ending, and that was what makes it actually mean to do something, to verb, to study in this case. Okay, so that's the end of our test prep. If you have any questions, please email me. Let's see, what que más? Yeah, read over lessons 1 and 2. Email me if you have questions, and it'll be great. So, your tests are due on Tuesday. Yep, I see you on Tuesday. So, yes, your tests are due on Tuesday. So, all right, happy studying and happy test taking.